Good evening, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us on such a lovely night when you could have been out doing whatever you wanted. But thank you for listening to all of us. I'm Ailie Stewart. I am representing Argyll and Bute in the Scottish Youth Parliament currently. My term will end next year, but I've loved just working for young people in the area over the past year. I've been able to do some amazing things, like as Nuala said. I've been working closely with her and some other young people to set up an online support group for LGBT young people in the area, which I believe was one of the first of its kind. I've also been looking into the issue of period poverty and to the extent of which that spreads in our area. So I've been really honoured to serve the community over this past year and will do for the next year. But tonight I'd actually like to speak about my own opinions for how we can become a better Scotland that don't necessarily always represent the Youth Parliament's gauge and issues, but match up on a lot of things. So I spend half my time in Dunoon and half my time in Glasgow. My partner lives in Glasgow, and I was walking through the streets today and I was actually shocked to see a lot more young people sleeping rough in the streets than I would normally see, and they were about the same age as me, which really shocked me. And youth homelessness is becoming a bigger problem in the country, yet it's just, I don't think it's talked about enough. In 2017, 34,972 homeless applications were made in Scotland, indicating the first rise of figures in 9 years. 17% of that figure was made up of single young mothers who don't know whether their children will have a roof over their heads. A bit closer to home, 516 homeless applications were made in people from Argyll and Bute from 2017 to 2018. I apologise for starting my remarks on a slightly negative tone, but to see a positive change in Scotland, we first need to speak frankly about our failures. I would like to see a Scotland where councils are supported to build and improve their social housing stock. The government's target of building 50,000 new affordable homes is set to be met, which is amazing, but I want it to be exceeded, and I want them to be even more ambitious and move forward from the 50,000 mark. I also believe a better Scotland would include reforming the legislation around intentionally homeless people, thinking about how the wording around that phrase might belittle individuals. In terms of improving education in Scotland, I believe that teachers need to be more recognised as the pillars of society that they are. Teachers are moral agents and are crucial to the shaping and construction of a child's skill set. Teachers should be supported by head teachers, who in turn should be supported by the council. We need to protect and also praise the amazing work of additional support needs staff. So more funding and better pay for educators was what I'm essentially saying. So I'm sure I'll be very popular with the teachers in the room if there are any. I would also like to see a Scotland where there is even more inclusive education. Nuala touched on this quite a lot in what she said, but I believe that all non-denominational schools should be obliged to provide all pupils with heterosexual and LGBT+ sexual health information, with support from charities, amazing charities like LGBT Youth Scotland and Stonewall. I believe all teachers should be put through training on how to handle homophobic, transphobic and biphobic behaviour. And teachers themselves should be mindful of how they treat pupils identifying as part of the LGBT community. I attended an LGBT Youth Scotland conference where parents spoke about their transgender children facing horrible sort of just belittling attitudes from their own teachers, which in result caused them to try and attempt to take their own lives. So this is something that needs to be changed, and training for all teachers should be put in place. Grassroots charities are doing amazing work. As I said, Stonewall, LGBT of Scotland and TIE as well, as Nuala mentioned. And they should be greater funded and supported to go out to schools and provide this training. Another thing I'd like to speak about is period poverty, which I mentioned briefly in my introduction. It's an issue I've been trying to involve myself in recently. The amount of women that must decide between feeding their own children or purchasing sanitary products for the sake of their own health is unbelievable. A Better Scotland will make sure there are fully supported provisions in place at schools, GPs, community centres and universities for the distribution of free sanitary products for anyone that needs them. It's ridiculous that they were actually being taxed up until very recently. The consultation survey I recently opened on this issue showed that period poverty does exist to an extent in Argyll and Bute, and I want to see appropriate measures being taken place to tackle it, which I'm happy to announce that Audrey has said there's already been progress made. Most of all, in A Better Scotland, I would like to see events like this, which you've all come to, become not so much of a novelty. Young people today will become the politicians, nurses, teachers and social workers of tomorrow. Please continue to actually support us to drive the country forward. Continue to listen to us like you are tonight and acknowledge our opinions because a lot of our ideas do actually make sense sometimes. So thank you so much for coming out and supporting this event. Thank you very much.